Hi, we're going to take an overview look at the ActiveCampaign interface, work our way around all the different bits before looking at it in more detail in the later lessons. But let's get started at having a look at the dashboard. This is where you'll get to when you first sign up. It's got some summary details in there. Obviously this is a demo account, so I only have a few contacts in it. But you can see an overview of your current position in ActiveCampaign, so your contact numbers, your current trend, campaigns which are broadcast emails, your automations which are the things that are automated that happen like a bit like you may have called it an autoresponder before, but they're a little bit more advanced than that. Your email templates, a little bit useless in my opinion. Your top contacts, those people who are interacting most with you, and you can I don't know, there's no option to change the different search, so I don't know why that's there. These two here are for those people who've got the Plus system, which has pipelines and deals, and there's a little bit about that in the lectures further on. We won't touch on that too much today. One that's worth keeping an eye on is the news from ActiveCampaign. So if you're not looking at their blog, that's really an access into their blog site. And then we've got a little bit of recent activity, what's been going on, and you can highlight individuals. It's all very clickable, so you can kind of find things, click on them, and go and find more detail. So let's work our way, that gives you an overview, let's work our way through the menu items. So contacts, this gives you access to the master list of all your contacts on the ActiveCampaign system. This is all your lists and people merged into one. Unlike other systems, you only pay for the one user, the one email address. You don't pay for it several times over if it's in different lists. So this is very much giving you a good overview of an individual, so we can click on one particularly and see a lot more detail. So we can see details of what's been happening to the individual, what automations they're in, which lists they're in, what tags they're in, and so on. There's quite a lot of stuff that you can actually see on the individual. Going back to the list of contacts, it has some really good features for you being able to select people and do different processes with them. You've got lots of ways of filtering and searching that you'll need to explore, and we'll look at those later on. So campaigns, if you're an Infusionsoft convertee, then you really need to be thinking about campaigns, or what we would now call automations. Campaigns on ActiveCampaign are broadcast emails, so that's their functionality. Things that are sent out one time, and normally scheduled on a particular date to broadcast to your whole list or groups of the list. There are a series of templates that you can manage and can have a look at those. And you'd obviously just go off and do a new one. Automations. So this is the powerhouse behind ActiveCampaign. These are the little flowcharts of different activity that can take place that allow you to do really clever, smart interactions with your user base. So again, you'd go off and do it. Let's have a look at an example, one of those. It has a drag and drop editor. So if we just go off, we'll see the flowchart for this one. And you can see it's all mapped out with loops around, and you can drag and drop things around and have a great time with that. Deals is only if you're using the Plus version, which is covered later on. It sets up pipelines of people moving through a deal process. So if you have a sales team or you're operating a multi-stage kind of process of moving people through different stages, particularly if you're dealing with them one-to-one, more on the phone after you've gathered their details in the first place, the CRM system in the Plus system is certainly something you might want to have a good look at. The heart of things, we've seen our big master list in the contacts, but the master list is kind of split off into different lists. And this is very familiar to you if you've used something like Aweber. You'll have different lists, but you don't have a master list. So here we can see an overview. If this had real people in, you would actually see some little faces start to appear here. You can go off and look at the details, and it'll give you a list of just those people. And there's lots of things you can kind of play around with on those, and obviously create new ones, play around creating custom fields, tons to do. Forms are where you actually get the information into a list or do something else with it. The form system is quite powerful in that you can subscribe people to a list. But equally well, you could just create a form on here to send an email to you and do nothing else with it. And you can do multiple things like subscribe to a list and add a tag. So it's become a little bit more sophisticated. It has a drag and drop editor, very much similar to the other editors that are in there. And particularly, it's pretty similar to, say, the email editor. So really, it's a case of creating one of those, and then you pick integrate to go off and pull stuff in to your website or into other third-party API systems. Reports, fairly obvious really. You can report on your campaigns, and you can also report on automations. So you can see what's going on. You can look at open rates. You can see who's actually interacted and click through. You can get more detail by going off into the further reports. Clicking in here, and you'll see more detail. Then the thing that's worth being aware of is the fact that you have a load of settings underneath here. You can set up multiple users. Under settings, you'll find API connections if you want to connect up to an API. And then you have apps, which is a great place to look for things that connect into ActiveCampaign. A lot of these will work via something like Zapier, but something like the Facebook link is quite a nice link into getting your details from our Facebook page into ActiveCampaign. So a lot of these are just done through Zapier, although that's supposed to be changing over time. What else have we got underneath here? You can also have a look at your billing. You can get support information, and then you've got some ideas of your contact details in terms of how much it's costing you. So that's how many you sent out. This is a limited account because it's a demo account. If we looked at my full account, that would be slightly different. The demo account, although it's a +1, it has some limitations on it. So, great set of products that you can connect to. We've had a good look through, whiz around all these different things. Well, let's take it to each of those in turn gradually over the course of the next few lessons.